Welcome back to the Southwation Room for this very special playoff episode. It's not the series preview yet, it's sort of a precursor. It's an introduction to playoff hockey. Now, for some of my viewers, this may be old hat for you. You've been around and seen a thing or two. But if you're new to the sport or just want to brush up on what exactly changes in the playoffs, both by the books and on the ice, then you found the right place. Playoff hockey is a unique experience that will have you exhausted and work the next day, wondering why you stayed up to 3 to watch a Western Conference series that has nothing to do with your team. But if your performance review is coming up and you know you're getting fired anyway, you might as well spend your time doing something you love. So let's see exactly what is happening in the rulebooks as we transition to this post period of the season. A postseason, if you will.
Rule 1. All series are best of 7. In some other leagues, you might start with a best of 3 or a best of 5 series, and then later series are best of 7, but in the NHL, all of them are best of 7. You need 4 wins in a series to move on from the start. All of these series are structured the same way. 2 games at home, 2 games on the road, 1 game at home, 1 game on the road, and then 1 last game at home. That's if you're the high seed team. If you're the low seed team, then it's just the opposite. That means that Game 7, if necessary, is always at the higher seed stadium, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, is a pretty big advantage. Rule 2. 3-on-3 overtime is over. Sorry for fans of it, shootout is gone too. Instead, games that are tied at the end of regulation are determined by 5-on-5 overtime. And you might ask, well, how does that work? Just the same way as another period of a game. It's 20 minutes long. You play until there's a goal automatically wins. It's still golden goal. And if at the end of an overtime period there's no winner, you get the full intermission before the next one. Typically, you only get 1 or 2 overtimes, but you can get as many as you need.
Got it? Those are the only technical changes, so it looks like my work here is done. See you in the next one. Oh wait, were you serious about wanting to know the other stuff? Whereas that does cover the bulk of technical changes between the regular season and the postseason, certainly the ones that you'll see and will affect you, there are plenty of other things that make the game feel different, and one of them is intensity. Now that may seem self-explanatory. Of course the play is going to be intense. The stakes are so clear. There's so much to gain. There's so much to lose. The players are going to play harder, just like in the playoffs of any sport. You know that, I know that, and the players know that. But in hockey, the refs know it, and it changes how they call the game. Now, don't expect to get away with an offside or an icing or a delay of game without being punished. Black and white calls are still called about the same, but as for those judgment calls, you trip a guy away from the play, you hook a guy and don't hold on too long, you grab a stick, you check a guy, you cross-check a guy, you punch a guy in the face with your glove on. You can get away with some of those, especially the ones that deal immensely in physicality. Roughing is called very infrequently in the postseason. During the regular season, you might see a ref break up a scrum, take a guy, especially in a chippier game, take a guy from each team and throw him in the box to cool things down. You can see that in the postseason, but far more often, a scrum's a scrum. The whistle blows as long as nobody drops the glove or goes way over the line. You get right back into the dot and you go again. Physicality is key to success in the postseason, not only because it matches the intensity that the situation calls for, but you can get away with more. And a team that's willing to push the envelope, as long as they don't push it way too much, can do a lot more. And I know what you're thinking. Intensity, physicality, bloodshed, war, famine. First of all, whoa. Second of all, less than you'd think. Fighting actually takes a downtick during the postseason. Despite the fact that teams are playing closer to the line, maybe even over what the regular season line would be with more intensity, the implications of fighting are still great, too great for many players to risk going off for 5 minutes. 5 minutes where they can't help their team in a situation where there may only be 5 minutes left in the season. Fights are typically reserved for retaliation if there's an injury off of a dirty or sometimes a non-dirty play, or in games that are already out of hand. Games where you're looking more to the future or more to the dignity, the pride of your team, where you might not beat them on the scoreboard and maybe the series is over, but you still want to show what your team is made of. So you'll get a fight. We'll certainly see a fight this postseason. I'd be shocked if we didn't. But don't expect every scrum to turn into one. As close to the line as they get, The more intense that a team gets, the more mindful they need to be of restraint and putting themselves in a position where they're not off the ice for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or the game or several. Don't think that just because the refs are turning a blind eye that the Department of Player Safety is. I mean, they probably are too, but that's more part of their other campaign they got going on. Suspensions can and will be handed down in the postseason, and they're way more devastating then than at any other point. 2 games during the regular season may not be that bad, but a 2-game suspension for an action in Game 5, well, you won't be there when the series is decided. Teams can keep bigger rosters, and they often do, meaning that in the case of injury or suspension or some other reason that a player cannot play, you have a guy who might be a little bit more primed to take over the position. An injury is still devastating in the postseason, of course, because you might not have the roster you want in a game that really matters, but you have a guy who's more ready to step into those shoes, or those skates, if you will, than you would during the regular season. At least historically, overtime playoff hockey has had no commercial breaks. It makes those intermissions fun for all of us because you can actually get up, stretch your legs, and unball your fists. Fingers crossed that that's still true and that the modern wave of sports media hasn't taken this from us too. Those are the big changes, written and unwritten. Have any more questions? Ask me in the comments or on my Instagram. But now, let's take a brief look at the contenders who could etch their name onto this year's Stanley Cup.
In the Western Conference, the President's Trophy winning Colorado Avalanche will host the Los Angeles Kings. The Dallas Stars are the high seed against the Minnesota Wild. The Vegas Golden Knights, who won the Pacific Division, will host the first wild card, the Utah Mammoth. And the Edmonton Oilers will host the Anaheim Ducks in games 1 and 2. In the Eastern Conference, we of course have the Bruins going to Buffalo for their first 2 games. The Lightning ended up getting the high seed against the Canadiens. The Hurricanes will host the second wild card, the Ottawa Senators, and the Pittsburgh Penguins will host the Philadelphia Flyers in the first couple games of their series in the Battle of Pennsylvania.
Now, in case it would be helpful, I've also sorted the teams by a couple different criteria for your record-keeping purposes.
We have them in alphabetical order according to abbreviation, starting with Anna and ending with VK. Fun fact, this year has all but 1 vowels other than Y represented as a starting letter, with Anaheim, Edmonton, Ottawa, and Utah each giving us a team starting with a vowel in their abbreviation. Thanks, guys! I've also organized them from my favorite to my least favorite in order of preference. So, of course, we lead with Boston, then Anaheim. Although I live closer to the Kings, Anaheim's fans are cool and it's a fun game day environment, and the Kings are kind of snobbish, and really, I don't know why. Then Ottawa, in honor of my 7th grade English teacher. Appreciate you, Dave. Then Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Edmonton, Minnesota, Dallas, Utah, Colorado, Carolina, Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, Vegas, the aforementioned Kings, et le dernier, le Canadien de Montréal. Ugh. Oh, you weren't supposed to see this one. Computer, remove. Computer, remove screen. Remove screen, computer. Computer, stop sharing screen. Computer, end task. Computer!
I'm sorry you had to see that. But what I'm not sorry you'll see is this year's Stanley Cup playoff action. A lot of new blood, a lot of teams that weren't in it last year. The reigning champions, the reigning back-to-back champions are out. So it's kind of an open field. They're definitely the favorites and they're definitely the underdogs. But one of the great things about Stanley Cup playoff hockey is it only matters what happens on the ice. If you're a new fan, Bruins or otherwise, I ask one thing. If your team gets eliminated, don't give up watching. It might be 2 teams you think you don't care about. You might not care about them. You didn't before and you might not afterwards. But for those 3 hours or 5 hours or 7 hours, there have been some very long games in this sport. They will become the best thing you've ever seen. You'll dream about it. Likely because it's still going on when you fall asleep. But hopefully you new Bruins fans won't have to worry about that and the boys will give us something to watch all summer long. Go Bees.